Hello viewers, this is Joymanadul here. At first, if you like the video, please share it with your friends and your respected comments below here. For video clips, all credits go to the movie owners. We make which are truly hidden gems to entertain people. This video is all about explain the movie from our own point of view. For explanation, we have used most of the video clips from the movie for the better understanding. Stay with us till the end, enjoy the video.
The film opens up with a pixelated computer game scene where two characters are battling and tumbling from a level. Then, it changes to our principal character, Chev Chelios, tumbling from a helicopter and crashing onto a vehicle in the road. He skips off the vehicle's rooftop and grounds in the street close to an intersection. When he lands, a gathering of Chinese thugs rapidly get him and placed him in a van. Afterward, when Chev awakens, he's in an improvised clinic, and he sees specialists eliminating his heart. Right then, at that point, a man named Johnny Wang goes into the working room and follows through with something grisly. He drops cinders from his cigarette into Chev's heart, which disturbs the specialists. They immediately send Johnny out of the room and supplant Chev's heart with a fake one to keep him alive until they can take his different organs. It turns out the specialists are working for Johnny, who is an organ dealer. After the heart relocate, Chev falls oblivious in the final heat level in an unconventional manner. She utilizes a thermometer between his legs, awakening him. Inevitably, Chev hears two specialists examining taking a greater amount of his organs, including his reproductive organs. This irritates him, provoking him to pound the specialists. He then sees a yellow battery pack connected to his midsection yet keeps it on and leaves the room. Stripped, he meanders around the structure until he tracks down garments in a horse loft. After he puts them on, he leaves the spot. Johnny's men rapidly follow him outside and point a weapon at him. In any case, Chev figures out how to overcome them no sweat. He then drives one of them for data and the person uncovers that Johnny has his heart. He likewise unveils that Johnny can be found at the Cyprus Social Club. Following this, Chev enters an irregular vehicle, hot wires it, and embarks to track down his heart. While heading to the Cyprus Social Club, he begins feeling frail and notification a cautioning light on the battery that drives his fake heart. This makes him restless, so he chooses to haul a few wires out of the vehicle and use them to re-energize his heart's battery. Whenever he's finished, the energy returns and he advances quickly toward his objective. During the drive, Chev settles on a decision to his primary care physician companion, Dr. Miles. He then uncovers his quandary of having a counterfeit heart and requests an answer for keep it charged. This shocks Miles, and he makes sense of that counterfeit hearts don't keep going for a really long time. Assuming the battery runs out, Chev will just have an hour to live. Miles then encourages him to keep his body charged and track down his genuine heart quickly. As Chev draws nearer to the Cyprus Social Club, he experiences two mobsters who challenge him to a vehicle race. In any case, he declines the test and basically requests bearings to the club. Sadly, in a short snapshot of interruption, Chev crashes his vehicle, which prompts the deficiency of his heart's battery framework. With no real way to re-energize, Chev asks the mobsters to juice him up. This obviously befuddles them, yet they choose to consent in any case. They adhere to his guidelines, and Chev associates the jumper wires, one to his chest and one more to his tongue. Shockingly, the high-voltage shock charges his heart and extraordinarily supports his actual capacities. He can now run like a pony. Inevitably, Chev at last shows up at the club. From the beginning, he accidentally saves a whore named Ria from an oppressive client. He then, at that point, goes inside the club to find Johnny. However, the mobster figures out how to escape by hopping over the wall. In the meantime, Ria becomes stricken with Chev as she thinks of him as her defender. Our person attempts to disregard her, yet his advantage is immediately aroused at the point when she professes to know where Johnny is. She then assumes him to a position called the Naked Young Ladies Club. Inside the club, the proprietor, Chico, is brutally grilling Johnny, requesting to know where Chev is. From the get-go, Johnny won't talk, yet when Chico hurts one of his men, he shouts out. All at once, Chev enters the club and sees his ex, Eve, playing out a shaft dance. They share a kiss, yet Ria intrudes on their second, asserting that she's Chev's new sweetheart. This prompts a battle between the two young ladies in which Eve arises triumphant. Simultaneously, Chico shows up at the scene and spots Chev. Pleased, he arranges his men to assault and catch him alive. In any case, Chev won't surrender with such ease. He takes out a weapon and a destructive shootout results between the two gatherings. In some way or another, Chev figures out how to overcome the hooligans in general, yet Chico figures out how to escape from a secondary passage. Chev then questions one of the thugs about why their chief needs to get him. The person makes sense of that it's not Chico but rather another hoodlum, El Huron, who needs him dead, in spite of the fact that they don't have the foggiest idea why. Irate, Chev shoots the person dead and leaves with Eve. Sadly, when he ventures outside the club, he's gone after by a gathering of cops who begin whipping him. During the battle, Chev's counterfeit heart's battery channels, yet when one of the officials tasers him, it re-energizes once more, giving him exceptional powers. He then retaliates and gets away in one of the officials' vehicles with Eve. Unbeknownst to them, there is a whore in the secondary lounge. Sooner or later, Chev utilizes Eve's cell phone and contacts Dr. Miles to refresh him on his circumstance. That's what the last option guarantees. On the off chance that he can find his genuine heart, they can return it to his chest. At that point, the whore uncovers that she knows where Johnny is. She makes sense of that he has a case with him and is logical at the horse racing track at Hollywood Park. Hearing this, Chev heads toward the horse racing track but tragically gets himself in a descent, rally driven by a gathering of horse requesting equivalent freedoms. Confounding issues, one more gathering of cops shows up at the scene. Accordingly, Chev rapidly escapes the region, forsaking the vehicle. In the following scene, he hurries to a close-by park and experiences two young men who are utilizing an electric choker on their canine. He stands up to the young men, blaming them for creature abuse. Chev then takes the electric collar, furthermore, places it around his own neck to re-energize his heart. Afterwards, the police show up to capture him. In any case, the canine assaults one of the officials, offering Chev the chance to get away. In any case, he winds up encompassed by additional cops from all sides, without any method for getting out. At that point, somebody who seems to be Chev's late companion, Kylo, shows up on a bike. What's more, stops before him. He requests that Chev get on the bicycle and drive him away from the police. Be that as it may, the secretive person has a few anxious propensities, and he winds up crashing the bike. In the wake of recuperating from the accident, the person presents himself as Venus, Kylo's twin sibling. He uncovers that he is determined to get payback for his sibling's demise. Accordingly, Chev says that he has proactively taken out everybody in question in Kylo's passing with the exception of a person named El Huron. He then, at that point, asks him for bearings on the course. He shows up at the spot, his pulse begins to drop, so Chev calls his companion for help. Miles rapidly concocts an answer and says that Chev would be able to re-energize his heart through grating. This implies he needs to rub his skin onto someone else. Chev follows the idea and gives it a shot. A couple of individuals at the course, however, face analysis. What's more, pushback. Luckily, Eve sees him in the group and comes to his guide. They share in close second on the course, while the group supports. After Chev is completely restored, he passes on his young lady and hurries to track down Johnny. Yet again sadly, the mobster makes due to move away in his vehicle. Following this, when Chev experiences an issue with the security, a Chinese criminal named Wei Kim acts as the hero in a limo. Inside the limo, Chev gets some information about his taken heart, and the last option makes sense that a group of 3 pioneers named Poon Dong has it. He needed a heart relocation, and that is the point at which he learned about Chev's capacity to get away from death. Thus, he paid his men an enormous measure of cash to recover his heart. Hearing this, Chev questions why Wei Kim saved him at this moment. The criminal lets out a malicious smile and uncovers that he is really going to convey him to Poon Dong. This clearly doesn't agree with our legend, and he winds up killing Wei Kim and his whole crew. After this, Chev leaves the crashed limo and goes to an electric lattice. He snatches the high-voltage power supply with his uncovered hands and re-energizes his heart. In the meantime, Venus calls his companion Orlando to assist with finding El Huron. Then again, Chico reports his inability to El Huron, who remorselessly rebuffs him by driving him to remove his own areolas. Then, while driving, Chev recognizes an emergency vehicle and hops in, asking the paramedics for an additional battery to re-energize his heart. They figure out how to find one and help him in associating it. Right then, Chev detects his foe. Johnny Wang is in the city, so he hops from the moving rescue vehicle and takes cover behind a vehicle. Amidst this, Ria attempts to stand out from the opposite roadside yet gets hit by a vehicle. This cautions Johnny of the risk and he endeavors to get away. Anyway, this time, Chev in the end makes up for a lost time too and pummels him. He then, at that point, takes the red box from Johnny, trusting it contains his heart. Nonetheless, it ends up being something different. Angered, Chev leaves Johnny on the ground and calls his primary care physician, Miles. The last option, who has numerous underground associations, has gotten data about the heart. He uncovers that the organ was relocated into Poondong 3 weeks prior, and it's working well. Miles then, at that point, vows to assist Chong and notices that his young ladies are looking into the issue. After the call, Chev attempts to get data from Johnny, however Chico shows up and shoots him to death. They then thump Chev oblivious and put him in a vehicle trunk. In the meantime, Poondong is seen marching around the city. It is awesome to ensure his last days. At one stop, he is moved toward by a beautiful woman, who ends up being Miles' right hand. She astutely tempts him and takes him to a disconnected house. There, Miles is hanging tight for Poondong, prepared to remove his heart. In the following scene, Chev is brought to El Huron, who uncovers that he's the third Verona sibling. For some unique situation, Chev killed the other two Veronas, Ricky and Alex, in the initial segment. To this end, El Huron is gunning for vengeance. He takes steps to kill Chev and eliminates his new battery pack. Yet he maintains that it should be a scene, so he takes him close to the pool. There, Chev sees Ricky's cut-off head inside a tank with machines. El Huron then makes sense of that he kept his sibling alive misleadingly so he could see Chev's downfall. The hoodlums then, at that point, begin whipping him mercilessly and nearly polish him off. Be that as it may, Orlando, Venus and Ria appear at the last possible second, evening out of the war zone. Amidst the mayhem, Chev tears open Ricky's tank and kicks his head into the pool. And yet, he begins dialing back because of low power. At the point when he sees no different other options, he attempts to re-energize his heart by climbing an electric shaft. When he contacts the live wires, he gets shocked so terribly that he is set ablaze. In any case, regardless of this, he actually figures out how to thrash the foes. He additionally kills El Huron and dumps his dead body into the pool. Right now, Ria shows up, and Chev, in a psychedelic state, confuses her with Eve and attempts to embrace her. Sadly, he winds up setting her ablaze, making her take off in torment. Chev's body is as yet consuming and his face begins to dissolve. Notwithstanding, he is ready for business. He strolls towards the camera and shows his center finger, most likely to his foes. In the last scene, Chev is in a seriously crumbled state. Also, Doc Miles attempts to re-embed his heart. Eve watches the method. What's more, it appears to be a disappointment, as Chev doesn't answer. Notwithstanding, after everybody leaves looking crippled, he phenomenally wakes up and the film closes.